under the same room, we share the love. Embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. And how do we stand in love's pure might? Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the morning crew, and I'm your host, Mel. And today we have quite the wake-up show for you. We have so much to cover. There's so much breaking news, especially. We also cover the rumors around here on the morning show, right? There's rumors about Netanyahu. People, for some reason, are trying to say that the man is no longer with the living. What is all of this about? Also, we have other topics we're going to get into this morning with none other than the great Miss Knockout. We're going to welcome her to the show. Everybody welcome her in. How are you? I think you're muted. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Here I go.
Okay, great.
How you doing?
Good morning. So good morning. How are you?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
I'm doing, I can't complain. How you doing?
All right, good. So we have quite a bit to get into this morning.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I think there's some sort of delay. So at any rate, though, today I want to get started with this particular video, and we'll try to resolve the little technical issue of what's happening in regards to this whole deal with Iran. Let's get to it. I'm going to put it up here. Okay, here we
Let's turn it over to Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst, live on the ground in Tel Aviv at the site of an Iranian missile strike. Trey.
Yeah, guys, I do want to start with some breaking news here. A senior Israeli official telling Fox News that Ismail Khatib, the intelligence minister of Iran, was targeted in a precision strike overnight. Khatib was responsible for supporting Iran's global network of infiltrators, of sleeper cells, to threaten countries like the United States and others around the world. This comes as we are tracking developments out of Israel, where overnight the Iranians launched more cluster munitions at the civilian population here. At least 2 people were killed in Ramat Gan, just on the out.
So what do you think in regards to this whole deal with Iran? And it seems like the United States is showing a lot of strength and taking out a lot of their key assets.
Yeah. Can you hear me good, or is there still a lag?
I think there's a lag because there's some sort of delay here. So at any rate,
Okay, so
maybe
I'm gonna go
maybe
back.
you should
I'm gonna go
go
back
out and
out
come back in.
and
Yeah.
come back
Okay.
in.
All right.
I'm
So
gonna go back
thank
and
you
come back
guys.
in.
Okay, good. Thank you guys for tuning in. We seem to have some sort of technical issue, but it's okay. We're covering in regards to Iran, what's happening in regards to how this is affecting the world, but most importantly, what's happening here in, the United States. I was in New York City yesterday, and there was a huge fire and a mini explosion. So I was like, man, I saw the smoke. I didn't know what was happening, so I had to get out of town. But obviously, I was in town just to cover this court case that stemmed or connected to Sean Diddy Combs. But just imagine you come out of court and you see all the smoke. It turns out, I guess, one of the high rises was on fire and so forth. But again, we're living in times where it's difficult to navigate, especially like in these big cities like New York City. Where are you guys tuning in from? Tell us where you're located, what state. Perhaps we'll just keep it at that level. But again, we also hear about what's happening in regards to California. Perhaps they could even take on a strike, or at least that's the dominant thought right now. So again, I must say, to come out of the courthouse yesterday and see all the confusion. And keep in mind, when I was covering this case, the courthouse is at the bottom of Manhattan, and where I enter is on the upper part. So imagine you have to go through the subway system. You have to go through so much travel just to get in and out of the city. And then all of a sudden you see such a major event. I didn't even have time to pull out my camera. I was trying to book it and get out. Let's see. We're going to bring back on Miss Knockout to see if things are better. All right. Can you hear me now? It seems to still be some sort of issue. I'm not sure. Miss Knockout, can you hear me? Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay, here we go. Can you hear me good now?
Yes, I can hear you good.
Okay, so we were talking about this event that's happening in Iran. A lot of people feel like, this is going to be a long, prolonged event. What do you think in regards to this?
Yeah, I think that he's going to drag this out as long as he could drag it out for whatever reason that he got. I got a couple of theories on that, on the reasons that he has. But, I don't feel like on the Iran side that they're going to last long, because I don't feel like they have the resources.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you think when you're talking about the timing of it all, do you think this is going to be dragged out in connection with the midterm elections?
I think that he's going to try to do that, but I don't think that he's going to be successful in doing that. But I think he is going to try. He is going to try.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
based on what we've seen so far from the president, do you think he really would need to do that? It seems that he's in a good space as far as his support. A lot of people actually like him.
You mean the president?
Yeah, yeah. His base is still strong. It seems like he's still rolling. Do you think he has to pull off some sort of delay tactic or war tactic to win, or to help some of these other individuals win?
As far as like the midterms, or do you mean the war?
Midterms.
The midterms, I personally don't feel like he's going to win the midterms.
No? Okay.
No, I feel like he did a lot of things to rub people the wrong way. And I feel like people can't wait to vote.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I see. I don't know. I might be surprised,
Right. The president has often mentioned that the sitting president typically loses the midterms as far as, the numbers go.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that is, in the statistics that it could happen. But I do think it's going to be a tough road because a lot of people are definitely trying to show support for the president.
Definitely. Definitely. You still got to support your country no matter what. You know what I'm saying? You still got to support your country. And, the USA still got to run, even though, there's a lot going on.
Right.
I mean, do you feel like a lot of what is going on, do you feel like that he initiated this stuff? Or do you feel like it's just going by itself?
Yeah, I think there is some truth with the fact that over 47 years, the Iranian people, at least their leadership, has been, death to America.
Oh,
There's no
yeah.
doubt about it, right? If you go back in history, especially around 1979, when you had all the hostages, and then in '83 there was a major bombing. So there's a whole track record here. But I think as far as what we're seeing now, because back in September, when they did the midnight hammer strike, the president came out and said, listen, we've neutralized their ability. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. But I think
Mhm.
this time around, I think it was Israel, namely Netanyahu, that was really pushing for this. And I think for whatever reason in the background that we probably will never know, I
Right.
think the president chose to move along with this action.
True. Yeah, he actually said, he wanted to get them before they got us. Evidently they know more than we know, you know. They don't let us know everything. So, I feel like this has been going on for years before Trump was in office. It's been going on. It's just now that he's taking action. And but once again, I don't feel like they got the resources to go to November, because we're a much bigger country. We got more resources, we got more artillery, we got more manpower. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're prepared. I think because if you look at their arsenal of especially explosives and bombs and all of that, I try not to use that word on
Yeah.
YouTube, but they are fully equipped as far as their ammunition, as far as pushing this forward. The real question, I think, is can the United States pull this off at the highest level without putting boots on the ground? And I think for the American people, when we start to hear about boots on the ground and also a potential draft, I
Hmm.
that's where people start to get uneasy. And so I think the president has to navigate, does he want this type of climate going into the midterm elections when people are in faint out of fear and they're skeptical about what the leadership in so I think this is definitely going to have to be a temporary action if they want to have some dominance as far as the midterm elections.
Right. Yeah. And that's true. And another thing is, I did my research, and whatever's going on with the war is actually not going to affect the midterms elections. I don't know. I mean, I could understand why they're mentioning this, because evidently he has, when you're in a race, you got always going to have a fear of losing. It's going to be a winner. It's going to be a loser. But my research tells that the election's going to be in place no matter what. People seem to have this myth that he can create some kind of war or obstacle, and then things won't go on. But I don't think that's true due to my research I did.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I think a lot of that we're going to keep debating about. It depends on what station a lot of people are listening to. A lot of people are led by Fox News, some led by CNN. And depending on what you're feeding your mind, people come to various different conclusions. So
Right.
I think it's going to be a big matter of debate when it comes to a lot of these matters. But one thing is for sure is that I think for the most part, people do not like war, even here in the United States, because we're not in the clear. Look at what happened. I was explaining when you went out. I was in New York at the court case yesterday, came out to all of this confusion and smoke, and there's a high rise on fire. At
Oh,
that point, I'm not trying to cover it. I'm trying to get out of New York City. So, you
wow.
know, a lot of these things, and I noticed too, I was trying to understand what happened as I was boots on the ground. There wasn't even a lot of media covering it, just the New York Post. I couldn't find it on CNN, at least while it was happening. So, you know, when now everything we see, we have to look at it through the lens of, does this have something to do with the war? And even though they still don't want to call it a war, it makes us kind of uneasy, especially in New York City. And I know you know more about that than myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You see things, you see fires, you hear sounds, you see people maybe running, you know what I'm saying? And your first thought is to go into like protect yourself mode, because at this climate, we don't know what angle they're going to come at. We don't know what angle they're going to come at. They can't get to us like we could get to them, evidently. Like we have bases over here, there. They don't have bases over here, so they get to us in other ways, and
Right.
we got to like keep our neck on swivel. And the summertime's going, you got to watch where you're going. You want to go to those free concerts in the park. Now you got to be aware of your surroundings, because they're here. They could go the same places we could go.
Yeah, absolutely. They say we have a lot of sleeper cells here in the United States. Do you think that came from all the people they say were coming over the border? Donald Trump often said, if initially they were saying 4 million people came over the border during Joe Biden's term. But now Donald Trump keeps saying it was 25 million that came in over 4 years. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, that's a lot. 25 million over 4 years. Wow, that's a lot, and it's a lot of enough of the population. If they like, first of all of them aren't on that. You know what I'm saying? So like we tend to see certain races, and then we stereotype them, with certain things. But all of them aren't like sleeper cells. But it's still a large, alarming number for it to like rise up and do some damage. It's not only like um things could blow. I'm gonna use some pig Latin, blow a fire up. It's our water, our food, you know and things like that, and they can like get into these things, and if it's a abundance of them, meaning that many in population, then we really gotta keep our neck on swivel for
Right.
real.
Do you think it's a good thing that the president is taking those drastic measures to lock down the border? They said that over the last year, there has been hardly anyone coming into our country. What are your thoughts?
Well, a lot of people, kind of shying away from America right now. We have a lot of things going on, with the economy and the things, the icification, and so there's a lot of things going on. And from the outside looking in, I can imagine how they would feel to like kind of not want to come over here right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So,
right. Okay. Well, very good. So I want to switch up a little bit. Did you see what's happening? Because on this show, we're covering just about anything that comes through the filter. Typically, we cover politics and news. But what's happening with Clarissa Shields and all the drama right now?
oh yeah. So, Blueface just recently had a fight. I don't know if everybody's seen it. Um, and he actually came online recently and said, because everybody was kind of clowning him. And I like Blueface. Blueface is really smart, first of all. He's an Aquarius. He's smarter than people think. He's strayed away from music, though, and got into, the streamers, kind of clout chasing, met Krishan, went that whole route. And I think it kind of, he still does music, but I think it kind of pulled him out of that lane. But in the midst of that, he went into boxing, and he was training in boxing. Now, when he went to jail, he gained a little weight, put him in another class of boxing. So he recently did a boxing match, and the guy who he was fighting, what's the guy's name that he was fighting? I'm gonna get his name in a minute. Okay, he kind of knocked him out the ring, knocked him through the rope. So people started clowning him for that, right? And I'm just looking up who he's fighting, and his name is, what's his name? So his name is Chibu, right? So because Chibu knocked him through the ropes and did look kind of funny to me, right? Clarissa said he didn't get knocked out the ropes, and then they played the video back of him getting knocked out the ropes. And in the midst of them clowning and talking about it, Clarissa Shields, had some commentary about it, and it didn't go over too well with Blueface's mom, Carlissa. So her name is Clarissa, the fighter, the boxer, female fighter, the quote, and then Blueface mother is Carlissa. So they have similar names, right? So Blueface's mother didn't like the commentary that Clarissa gave on Blueface's fight, and she was basically telling her, you need to worry about fighting and not worry online and talk about your man all the time and stuff. And they had a going back and forth a little bit about getting smart with each other. And let's see, she said, y'all tell Clarissa to tell her man to fight Blueface and stop talking. So she actually made a little comment that she wanted Papoose to fight Blueface. But you know, Papoose, I mean, he probably got hands or something, but he ain't got like those boxers, you know, professional. Like Blueface is training, you know, so he learning tactics. And then Papoose is like, you know, a street fighter. He's like fighting in the hood. So I don't think that it'll actually happen, but that's the comment she made. And you know, they went back and forth for a little while about it.
Yeah.
And
What's happening? What's happening with 50 Cent? It seems that 50 Cent is taking on everybody right now.
oh yeah, 50 Cent beefs, or you know, 50 Cent is petty. Um, he has beefing with Ti, and he's beefing with still ongoing with Clarissa and Papoose. And you know, I believe 50 Cent is really funny when he beefs. And plus, you know, people don't realize that this keeps 50 Cent relevant, you know. So recently, because the beef that he's stirring is spreading out, recently T.I.'s son King was somewhere and he wound it up with Charleston White, and Charleston White got at him and got in it kind of. So, you know, it's like he stirs the pot 50 and then it goes out, it branches out, you know what I'm saying? But he got, you know, he got so many beefs, and it's like he found a way to keep himself relevant, but it's
Right,
not for
right.
everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see there's a whole lot of bickering going back and forth with T.I. and 50 Cent, and then Clarissa Shields and Papoose all over. I mean, Diddy is taking up, I mean, not Diddy, but 50 Cent is taking on a mighty heap of people, right?
Right, yeah. Young Buck put something up and made a comment, and then he went in on Young Buck, you know, and you know, of course, the Ti thing is. I feel like the Ti beef is kind of like dying down. Then you got 50 Cent and Mano heating up. Okay, Mano did a song um, called "Bleed Like Us," and then he called 50 out for always beefing and his past allegations and being messy online. And you know,
I
50,
heard the part where it said you said you were shot 9 times, you was only shot 5 times. So yeah, I definitely heard that song too.
yeah, and you know, 50 came back on that. So then, you know, we got the Ti beef that's coming, you know, still going on. And actually, not only King is in that beef, but Damani's in it, right?
Okay. Right,
And
that's
then,
another son. He has a very unique sound to him. I kind of like his flow.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. Well, that's
and
all right. What are your thoughts? I know you had also mentioned something going on with Michael B. Jordan, I believe. Am I right?
oh yeah, so Michael B. Jordan won the Oscar, and then we applaud him for that. You know, the other guy, what's the other guy that was up for him? That was in that movie. You know, he said that he was, you know, really banked on winning, and he mentioned a couple of things, you know, a little bit cocky, a little bit. But Michael B. Jordan won. He went to In-N-Out Burgers, crossed the frenzy. I seen another celebrity do that, so that must be a thing for them to go to some place like not a fancy restaurant, but someplace that's like more humble and down to earth, right? But now, after everything, you know, cleared, the storm is cleared. He won the Oscar, and he's looking like woo, like the golden child right now. Okay, he went on a date with the girl from Bridgerton. All right, and let's see what her name is. What is it?
Is it Yerin Ha, I believe?
Yes. So he went on a date with her. She's Yerin Ha. She was spotted with him on a very romantic dinner at Godfrey's in Malibu, and a lot of the celebrities go to Godfrey's because you know once you go to Nubu, the paparazzi is click click click, and if you want to be a little bit more discreet, they go to Godfrey's in Malibu. But now it's probably not so much because now we know about it
Right.
thanks to the media.
Can I get to you to tell the people what you do? Because you are out there, boots on the ground. I saw a video of you, 50 Cent, and then I'll see you over there with all sorts of celebrities as they're going in and out of these high-rise buildings. Tell us how you do it.
Oh yeah. So you know, sometimes you know, I stay in most of the time in broadcast. I do hot topics every day. on the clock, the tick to the clock, misunderstood score knockout over there. And occasionally I'll go out on location. Sometimes I'll get a tip from a couple of friends I met at the Diddy trial, and a couple of other friends I know who are PRs. And they'll give me a tip that so and so is going to be here. So I got a tip one day that 50 Cent was going to be somewhere, and then I put my clothes on and I ran down there. And in the midst of that, we also caught Maury. Maury was really funny. He looks really nice for his age. He said he has a podcast, but standing there broadcasting, everybody. I was actually gonna leave and goes like some people was like, oh, it's too long waiting out here, we're gonna go eat or whatever. I decided to stay, so I'm gonna stick it out. And then I'm just broadcasting and talking to my chat, and then all of a sudden 50 Cent pulls up right in front of me, and I said, oh wow. So and then my tagline is always, uh-oh, something's happening, and then I turn the camera around, and kind of grew up with 50 Cent around the way. So my face is kind of familiar with him. And then he looked over, he waved to me. But the other people didn't kind of realize that was him. You know what I'm saying? So he started pulling into the garage where he was going. And then they was like, that was 50. This girl said, oh, man. She didn't catch it. But I caught it. I caught him pulling up and stuff. And then he drove it to the garage. He didn't get out the car, which I knew he wasn't going to probably get out the car because, with all this beef and stuff, you got to keep your neck on swivel,
Right.
Mhm.
What about Mom Donnie? Have you ran into him yet? Or are you still on the lookout?
I did run into him briefly because I went to the Gracie Mansion celebration when he became mayor. I'm out there saying, oh, I should have re-uploaded that. But he became mayor. I went out there to the celebration. And he had a DJ and everybody was dancing. I was out there dancing and broadcasting. And I seen him come out. I caught him coming out, but I didn't get to catch him on camera because I had ended my stream by the time he was, coming out.
Yeah.
But that was like just a brief encounter.
I saw
Mhm.
I saw him too at the pop-up grocery store. When I went down to cover that grocery store that was up for a week, it was basically tied into some sort of lottery or what have you. It was
Yeah.
a temporary deal, but he was out there. So he seemed like a pretty cool guy, but he's taking a lot of heat, so much heat that they're trying to throw explosives at his house. I mean, come
Oh,
on.
yeah. I think at Gracie Mansion you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that happened because of those protesters down there.
Yeah.
In the midst of the protests. But they never said exactly where and who, like it kind of faded out and you didn't hear about it no more.
Right.
So you kind of didn't get the drift of where did it come from? Was it because of the Iran tensions and war, or was it somebody else?
Right.
So,
Right. Shadow says Trump attacks them and they didn't attack us. Iran just trying to defend themselves like any nation would.
well, I don't see any lies told in that. They were attacked first, and they do got to protect themselves. I mean, were you going to let somebody slap you around? You're going to just stand there talking about, I love it? No, you're going to, attack back. So I see some truth in that. I mean, they definitely didn't attack us first.
Right. When they did the new Abraham, or as Donald Trump would say, Abraham Accords, notice they did not include Iran into that whole deal. And so I kind of wondered, like, why isn't Iran in the deal? Donald Trump, the president, obviously was saying Iran did not want to participate, right? I'm not sure if they were even offered. It wasn't defined, at least from what I could see. But that's something to think about, right? It seems that Israel was not too fond of Iran even being in the deal, from what I could discern, just from the news. And we know the news is often swayed.
Right. It's often swayed. I could see them excluding them out of spite, because we are at war with them right now, So it might be a little animosity there to exclude them. But on the other hand, I feel like once again, you know, there's opportunity in partnering with people rather than being oppositions, because Iran does have 200 billion barrels of oil, you know, in their stock. I mean, I don't know about now because he's attacking the oil bases. And incidentally, sidebar, I don't know if you heard or not, but Cuba's electricity grid went out, or their fuel went out because they said that they haven't gotten a supply of oil with all this stuff going on with, Mr. T and the oil, and stopping the oil and pulling out Venezuela and stopping that shipment. In the midst of that, Cuba hasn't been able to get shipments of fuel, and they just had like a lot of a power outage. You
Right,
know,
right. Also, we're hearing that Cuba is coming under the United States fold. It seems like they're trying to take over Cuba now too, right?
uh-oh. Yeah. So
Do
that
you do you
so that
think
brings
Cuba?
us back to the midterms now. Back to your first question. Do all the stuff that you just mentioned, do you really think that he's going to win the midterms? Because nothing we mentioned was in his favor.
Well, it's going to boil down to the Republican Party and their representation, who's actually going to be involved in the midterms. And out of those people that he's going to endorse, I think it's a good chance that they might pull it off,
Uh-oh.
because think about it, the last election, a lot of people didn't show up. Do you know the millions of people that didn't even bother to vote at all for whatever reason, right? So, if you look at the world scene right now, especially the United States, is there enough happening to really make the people that can make a difference to come out and vote? Typically, people will come out during the main election. I'm talking about, if you want to encompass, let me say it in a delicate way. We'll just say more minorities. We'll put it that way. They
Yeah.
typically participate when you have the big ticket, but oftentimes during the the midterms, it's a little bit different. So it's quite possible, but I just think right now a lot of people, and I'm running into a lot of people that, as a group, they don't want to support Donald Trump, and they would never say it. But on the low, they actually like the guy, and they feel like he's a strong hammer.
Mhm.
So what does that mean? A good example is of the last election. Everybody thought that Donald Trump was going to have his boots smoked, and that he would lose, right? And look, he won so big it was a shame, right?
Well, see, it's a lot with my thoughts with that. So I'm not going to go into everything. But did he really win? He won. But did he really win? But, he won. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So next time he's not going to win. Why? Because he can't run. Now, we could make up stuff as we go along, but at the end of the day, they're not going to make an exception for the many, many years we've been on Earth that nobody's done a third term. I mean, there is not going to be exception made this time. I don't see it. It's not happening.
You don't think so?
No, and they will escort you right out of the White House, because once that whoever gets elected, the two people that's going to run is not going to be him. Trust me. If you are you at the strike of midnight when the next president takes over, if you are then back to a regular citizen, security could come and escort you out, technically and physically.
Yeah. Wow. This is Donald Trump, though. A little bit different.
Well, he's still human.
Yeah, I get it.
Unless he's Superman, I don't know. He
We're
got
we're
some
starting.
superpowers.
We're starting to see things now we've never even thought could happen. So I don't know. I'm a little bit. I have this attitude. We'll just have to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, we just gotta see. We
Yeah,
gotta see.
because it seems that when it comes to the Democratic Party, you don't even see people pushing back on Donald Trump, right?
Well, Obama explained why they're not pushing back. He said if he messes around with the midterms and does some, stuff with the midterms, then you're going to see him rise up. But he basically said that the Democrats are not going to stoop to the levels that they're stooping to.
But you know what? That's like reaction. What he's explaining is reaction. Why not put somebody out there now that to beat them to beat these people hands down instead of just saying, oh, if they do this, we're going to do that. You see what I'm saying? We don't see. Remember the first time around when Donald Trump was president, you had Nancy Pelosi on his head. Chuck Schumer, he was in the background, but every time Donald Trump moved, they were right there, boom, boom, boom. They were trying to get him
But
impeached
Pelosi is
so
not
much.
on. She's not in her position anymore.
But what I'm saying is the first time around, you had them on Donald Trump's head. This time around, you don't see that, is my point. You don't
Right.
see anybody on his head. It's like everybody's afraid that Donald Trump is going to go into their closet and pull out their dirt. So they remain quiet. That's the impression that I'm getting, but that's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And they kind of can't go up against him because they don't have the floor. So the Democrats were more vocal on the floor before. Now they don't have the floor. The Republicans are dominating the floor. So even if they are, and they are saying, some stuff, but it's being ignored, like they're pushing back on the files, and that's being ignored because all his people are controlling the positions over there.
Yeah. I mean, you have a few people trying to push back a little bit, but it's not the way you would imagine. In fact, even in the Democratic Party, you don't really have someone leading the way saying, vote for me. You don't have a strong face right now, and there has to be a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like who would you choose right now to say, oh, this person is going to be leading the way to become the next president? We're so close. We're like 2 years out. Who's the dominant figure or two that you would say, oh, this person going to make a great president to prepare for the next election? You see what I'm saying? It's like there's a void there, and to me, that's quite concerning.
Right. Well, the way these 4 years is going, it might be Daffy Duck. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of scarce. It's kind of, scary. It's like you said, who we don't know, and a couple of stars, celebrities I can't note right off the top said that they wanted to get like the guy Jake Paul. Trump said he would endorse him if he was to get into politics. Right? So imagine a streamer becoming a politician. Imagine that.
Well, I think the typical administration we have now is full of all of these individuals that we've seen on TV for the
Right,
last 3
reality
years,
shows.
like Hegseth and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't surprise me if you start to see more individuals. Actually, they say The Rock is going to run for president. Did you hear that?
Oh, shucks now.
Yeah.
I didn't know what
And
The Rock was
also,
cooking now.
you have Kamala, but he was polling higher than Kamala Harris, so she's back on the ticket, I guess.
Yeah, now Kamala might win again, right? And she might win out of spite. A lot of people didn't vote for her last time. A lot of people are kind of sorry that they didn't vote for her last time. So she might run this time and have a bit of a turnaround.
If she spent $1 billion at it and lost so bigly, as Donald Trump would say, do you think it's a smart course of action to put her back on the ticket?
I would think she would be one of the persons that you would say you could see running. Whether it's smart for her, I don't know. That's up to her and how much more money she can raise. These people are good at raising money. So the money comes from somewhere. It comes from somewhere, and they're good at raising money.
Yeah, if they give you $1 billion and Donald Trump pretty much win across the board, to me that seems like
Well, Donald Trump is not going to run again. It's not possible due to the Constitution and the laws.
Yeah, but
he cannot run a third term, so he's out of here.
But what I'm saying is, Kamala, though, they gave her $1 billion and she lost against Trump across the board. is it
Okay.
wise? Is it wise to put her back on the ticket, even though she might go up against J.D. Vance or Rubio? Do you think she would have what it takes to really win again? You know,
I think
a
so.
$1 billion.
Me personally, I think so.
You think so?
Hmm.
Hmm, okay. Yeah. Wow. So I guess we will have to see. But again, right? I know an individual that's heavy into politics and definitely was trying to push Trump. When Trump won last time, right?
Hmm.
The very next day, they're working on their next election, right? And trying to push JD Vance and Rubio, whoever Donald Trump wants to put, but they're working on it, right?
Right.
But I think it's a issue that the Democrats don't have some prominent individuals out there really beating the pavement. Think about it. Last week, Donald Trump was on the campaign trail pushing it again. You see what I'm saying? And
Right.
I'm just looking at it independently, and I'm just saying there's something lacking in the Democratic Party, and I've never seen this in my lifetime. You know,
Right. Right.
it's like nobody's home when you're knocking, and I think it's going to be like really tough to win a whole lot of anything unless you get people out there and they're really resonating with the American people. And I think that's the difference you see in the Republican Party. I think with Joe Biden, whatever happened in his life, he became president and people felt like he's not at home. He wasn't there. And then you'll hear even Donald Trump saying he didn't even give a press conference for all this time. Like something was going on with Joe Biden, okay, obviously. But then, like Donald Trump, if it's good or bad, this guy, he's delivering to his base the weirdest things. Like he's making it happen for them, whether the American people are happy about it or not. He's trying to deliver for them, and I think that could be a big difference. We just saw that too with what's her name, Jasmine Crockett. She just lost, but
Mm.
one of the things that most people said the reason why she lost is because the other guy, he wasn't talking about Trump. He was talking about, listen, you vote for me, I'm going to do this, this, and this for you. And people really could resonate with that. You see what I'm saying?
Right. That's true. I see in the comments people saying, Kamala, are you serious? Well, we're not saying that that's the choice to run. What he was saying was there's no face of any like Democrat that's prominent two that's up that you would say, oh, he would be good. So Kamala's only coming up is because she ran before. That's the only reason why she's coming up. She did run for president before, right? So she's not a choice. It's like who else is available though? You really got to, like he's right about that. You really got to think about it and long and hard because there's hardly nobody else available that you could think of that's a strong contender for the Democratic side. So we're not bringing Kamala up because, oh, yeah, that's the choice. No, we're bringing her up because she's the only name that's popping up that ran before that said she might run again. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's not
Right.
that she's that our choice. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's like, who else's name are you going to throw in the ring?
So let me just give you my philosophy. Usually I don't give my opinion, but I'll just say this briefly. And I can look at Trump, I can look at Joe Biden and say, okay, they did this good, they did this bad, and make a decision about who's doing the best right now. Okay. That's just my philosophy. But there's something major problem. We didn't see Joe Biden a lot. And I'm not trying to, beat on Democrats, but we didn't see him a lot. Then all of a sudden, right? He did this debate with Donald Trump. Now, we didn't know that there was something going on with him and that he was off, or maybe because they said maybe now we figure out he has cancer. But they let him go on that stage and perform at such a poor level. You'd say, if he has a vice president, why would you say, it's like even in my life, at some point when I get old, they're going to say, oh, you got to get off the mic. You're done, right? Because you
Yeah,
start,
I think that's
you start
happening
to
with,
fall off.
yeah,
So why did they let Joe Biden get up there and debate Donald Trump under those circumstances unless they were there was some sort of plan to push Kamala Harris? You know what I'm saying? That's what I gathered from it, because all of a sudden now they pushed her out there. They didn't even open it up to see what the American people thought. They pushed her on it and it fell flat, so to me that's quite concerning.
Right. Well, he probably had health issues, which came out. The C word doesn't just pop out of nowhere. It brews in your body for a while. They probably knew about it before we knew about it. He was the president, so who else is they going to put up there to debate him? The janitor? Like, he's the president, so they had to put him up there. They tested him out. These people are up in age. Trump is up in age. He got I seen a whole compilation video of him snoring on the Congress floor and at every meeting,
Right.
nodding out, getting up, looking out the window, talking about, oh, it's a beautiful garden in the middle of so all of them are up in age. And then when you are up in age, some people age like, are still kicking like a chicken. And some people have things that set in. It's a way of life. People get
Right.
old.
But
Everybody gets old. Nobody is invincible from old age.
no,
Nobody.
I get that, but in this particular case, Trump didn't want to debate him. Joe Biden pushed for the debate. I think Joe Biden was already, because the typical person didn't know he had fell off so much. I think he was slated to potentially give Donald Trump a run for his money based on his name and his past history. It was that debate that really took him out of the circuit. And I'm saying the people surrounding him should have told him, listen, don't do it, or they should have came up with some other strategy, because you would expect that your home team is always going to look out for you and say, listen, you just can't do it. We got to come up with a different strategy. It looked like he was just left to just fall off the cliff, and that's what happened. See what I'm saying?
Right. Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
The man is up in age. Like, a lot of people we know up in age, like some people got their faculties and God bless them. And then some people do not. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Everybody's different,
Right.
you know?
Right. But they could have, I think, I get the whole thing about Joe, because everybody, we all go through things and we fall off sometime. But if you have a strong team, you have a vice president, I feel like they should be there to help guide you and say, listen, you're not what you used to be. I had a friend of mine, he was a prolific public speaker, and he came down with a brain tumor, and he was actually giving this lecture before 20,000 people. And that's when he kind of realized something was off. So
Right,
his wife, so, those around him was like, listen, you can't do your next speech because this is not what we've seen. Unfortunately, he fell because of the cancer, you know what I mean? But
right,
the people around him did not let him go up there and probably, embarrass himself. And they said, listen, you're off. Sometimes we don't realize that we're so far off. And I just couldn't get over the fact, and I don't want to keep going off on this. I just couldn't get over the fact of why they put Joe Biden up there and let him be, you know, pretty much
well,
that's when the American people really lost their confidence. They're like, he got to get out of here. The next day, all the pundits were saying Joe Biden. Da, 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 da. I think that could have been avoided, and he potentially, because I was telling people, Joe Biden could potentially beat Trump. Right? This is before the debate. It might happen, or they might be neck and neck. And then I thought that he would resign after he won and hand it over to Kamala, but the debate took him right out of here. See what I'm saying? That's
right.
just my observation. It's only as good as what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he might have got up there and embarrassed himself, but let's ask ourselves how many times to the current date did Trump get up there and embarrass himself? And up until now, where he outed this man who has a terminal disease in front of everybody, to the shock of the guy sitting next to him, like, oh, was we supposed to say that? Like, it is HIPAA laws. You know what I'm saying? So the man might have not wanted everybody to know he had the C word. And then we could go down the whole list of things Trump did and said that was embarrassing. I mean, let's not act like it doesn't exist, but everybody acts like it doesn't exist. Like everything he says is okay, including what he did to Obama and Michelle. Oh, that's not embarrassing. I mean, that shouldn't even been a conversation. We shouldn't even be talking about them in projected that the way they were, but we are. But I
Right.
don't know, it seems like everything he does seems to be overlooked and ignored. So the embarrassing things that Biden did compared to the embarrassing things that he did up to date, I think Mr. T got him beat right now. So he did go somewhere and sit down because he had to go somewhere and sit down. He's
Right.
older, his health is failing, and now he has the C word.
And you make a good point. That was the other thing I observed too. When Joe Biden had his flub, the Democratic Party was even out saying, "Yeah, he has to go," right? But when Trump does the same thing, or even worse, even the whole issue that came up with Obama, the Republican Party, they stand with him regardless. They don't they don't push him down like what we saw with Joe Biden. The next day, you had Democrats saying, "Oh, Joe Biden did a poor job. We got to get somebody else," and then they easily cast Joe Biden to the side and put in Kamala Harris.
Right.
That to me, those are the type of issues I can't really rock with. You know what I mean?
Right.
And see,
Um,
and you just made the point. When Trump does his flub or whatever, you don't see Republicans saying, "Oh my God, get him out of here." You know what I mean? We see a difference, and I don't understand why.
right. I know that the HIPAA laws apply to medical. If I'm looking at the comments right now, I know
Yeah,
that applies to medical officials, but there's a thing called respect. So it's not technically the HIPAA laws, but everybody don't want their medical history put in front of the world. You know what I'm saying? Some people are private, so that's all I'm saying.
right, right. Yeah. So anyway, we'll have to see how this all works out in regards to the future. I think there was one other topic. Oh, Rihanna. Is there any update in regards to that matter?
I didn't hear too much of that. I believe that the suspect is due back in court on the 25th, in which we'll be watching. I don't know if it's going to be televised, though, because I'm not familiar. I got to look up what court she's in. The little snippet of her doing her first appearance was televised a little bit. It seems like it was short. So it might be filmed through the circuit, and we'll get to watch. Otherwise, we're gonna have to get the secondhand report. But she's gonna make her next appearance, and that's gonna really be the tale of which way it's gonna go with her. We kind of know which way it's gonna go with her. I mean, she was caught with the weapon. She was caught on location. She was caught in the car. They got cameras. You know. So we kind of know which way it's going to go, but it seems like some mental deficiencies is coming up, and we don't know if that's going to come into play in the courtroom, because a lot of people go and do stuff and then they play like they're crazy, but they're not really, but trying to use that to lower the numbers.
Right.
This woman seems like she might have these deficiencies, allegedly. I don't know, but looking at her Facebook and watching her talk, you know, I think that might come into play, but it might not save her all the way, but it might be looked at, you know, and
Right.
then it's how much she knew Rihanna. Did she personally know her? Did she just know her in her head? You know,
Right. It's crazy. I see online where a lot of people are saying that Jay-Z and Beyonce hired them. Like, where do these people? Something needs to be done about people just making up stories out of the top of their head. You know what I mean? I see a lot of those reports. People just can say anything they want, just to try to get clicks and views.
that yes, and that's a lot going on. And that is one of my pet peeves. When I look at a title, it says, a shock title, and then you expecting to see the subject to be about that title, and then you go in, and then they never mention nothing about what they put in the title. It seems like that's running rampant now. And even on the face to the booksies, I'm changing the word around because I don't know how YouTube, saying other places on there. I see that a lot on fakes to the booksies where they just blatant out tell lies on celebrities, and people are coming in the comments like, "This is a straight out lie. They should suify you," and it's like Facebook, Meta, whatever. They don't look into these things. They don't get a handle on it. Now TikTok is rules. Like if you spread misinformation, then you could get flagged for that. But these other sites is like a free for all, so everybody wants to build their brands on cloud, right? But when you build your brand on a crappy foundation, it's gonna fall on a crappy. You gotta keep doing cloud.
Right.
And when you're doing that, you lose the trust of the viewer. If I put one title and then you come in and then I never talk about what I put in the title, then you're gonna
Right.
lose trust in me as a creator or a journalist or whatever.
Absolutely. Great point. So, our final discussion today, we ran out of time, is Nancy Guthrie. What are your thoughts about? It seems that they don't have a clue what happened to her, and a lot of people are still thinking it has something to do with the family or close associate. Why do you think the feds are so lost when it comes to this particular case?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really strange. It's like they could figure out everything else, but they can't figure out who took this woman. And it's a very peculiar case because it's going so long. Usually when it goes so long in a case like this, it becomes a cold case, but they keep saying, we're not going to label this a cold case. And it seems like they probably are withholding information because remember, the people who did it is probably watching everything like, all you guys are watching. They probably watching too. And the investigators are aware of that. So you can't put certain things out. I understand that because it could change the trajectory of the way the suspects are moving, right? But and just like the David case, that's really slow in coming about. Like it's a lot of dragging the feet in the investigator part of the sector of the USA. There's a lot of cases where investigators are dragging their feet and they just can't figure out who came up on the camera and who took this woman and how they have DNA from bloodification. They have that. They had the glove, I believe, right? Now, the only reason why I think that it wasn't somebody who knew her place that well is because they went and grabbed shrubs and covered the camera up. If they knew the place, they would have knew that there was a camera right there and you to bring some tape or some paper to cover that up right away.
Right.
So that's the only thing that throws me off. If they knew the place and her so well, then how come they didn't know it was a camera right there?
Right. The other thing is a lot of people are trying to figure out if the person came through the front door or the back. And even to this day, we don't know with a certainty. But one thing for sure, she had a deadbolt and she had a keyed door lock on that front door. And
Mm,
she had the gated door. So it just amazes me. If the person went through the back, why did they spend so much time at the front door too? It's just so confusing.
yeah. Well, they have side view cameras of the side. She had cameras on the side.
Hmm.
They didn't say what were on those cameras per se, because once again, if they put all the information out there, the suspects is watching too, and they'd be like, "Oh, they got that now." So they're yet to come out of what they've seen on those side cameras. I was watching an ex-FBI investigator who said that she believed that they weren't working alone and that they went around the back and perhaps grabbed her. We don't know if she came out in front of the back. They did find the bloodification in the front, right?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
might be an indication that she came out the front, but she might have came to the front and ran to the back. We don't know. But that's a
Right.
good question. Why is it so hard to figure out clues to bring us closer to what happened to this woman?
Yeah. And I think the officers, they probably know they just don't want to put the information out there. But you think as time goes on, they would give more and more information because it might trigger, someone else figuring out what happened. Because sometimes people online have brought in clues from things said by the officers. But right now, they're keeping it tight shipped.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's understandable on one hand because you don't want stuff to leak out, like I said, and the suspects to starts covering their tracks on certain things. There's a lot of theories, like she went brought to Mexico. The Mexico authorities said no, she's not here. But then again, how you know that? You don't know everything.
Right.
But I believe it will all come out somehow in the end.
Yeah, I believe so too. Perhaps it might take some time, but it's quite possible they'll figure it out. I know her daughter and the other, a lot of people are pointing fingers at family members, but I would imagine the kids are sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. They question some of the family members, and they didn't report that they found anything. They have a car. They didn't report too much about that. They're very scarce with the information on this case.
Yes, absolutely. So we've reached our time. We'll definitely keep building on, especially with Nancy Guthrie,
Yeah.
as more and more information come out, especially also with some of these other topics. Could you just give us an idea of how we could reach you?
Oh, yeah. So everything is Miss Knockout. 2 X's, MISSKNOCKOUT. All right. I'm on the clock every day. I'll probably be on after this. Is Miss_Knockout. You can find me on all platforms, Facebook, the I to the GZ. And I'm also a music artist. You can find my music on Spotify, Amazon, wherever you go to listen to music. I got a new single out called Knockout, coming with the heat. All right, you can check that out. And I'm on the Y to the Tubesy every day now. Thanks to this man, put the battery in my back.
All right. Good deal. Good deal. You're doing a
And
great
it's Miss
job.
Knockout, /Miss Knockout.
All right. And we'll be doing this every week. So at least every Tuesday morning, and we'll add more days because it looks like we're getting a lot of support for this show. The numbers are insane. So thank you guys for tuning in today. We really do appreciate having you, Miss Knockout. I like the way you push back, and you're such a strong woman.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And yeah, especially when you're talking about politics, it's good to have people that have two different views. I think it makes for a great dynamic. I don't go all the way crazy because, politics gets people to debate a lot, you know what I'm saying? So we want everybody to live a great life and enjoy life together and not, be at odds all the time. The Blues against the Reds. Like, I wish everybody could live in harmony, but it's not the world we live in, and we just got to make the best of it.
Right. Well, I'm here for it as an independent. When I talk about Trump, I get heat from people that are Trump supporters. If I talk about Joe Biden, I get heat from Democrats. It's just the way it goes.
But you talk about everything, so that's fair. You talk about Biden, you talk about Trump, that's fair.
Yeah, that's I think most of us should consider just being more neutral, because I don't think any side totally calms and solves all the problems.
That's true. In the middle, I call it in the middle like a fiddle.
All right, all right. The news you can use, right?
The news you can use.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in today. Could you just take us home?
All right. Thank you for watching The Morning Crew with the news that you can use with Mel and Miss Knockout. And we outie 5,000, baby.
All right. I love it.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beat as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. United we stand.